Welcome back to Attack 404. In this edition, we're going to take a look at the art of threat hunting, and we're going to more specifically focus on Linux, as Linux is one of the operating systems that I've been playing in heavily lately, and I figured why not take you guys and gals on a nice little tour of how we do some threat hunting in Linux. Some of the stuff that I pulled together are from servers that I'm maintaining, so I've hidden the names to protect the innocent, and I've left the offenders to wallow in their own demise. The IP addresses are front and center on display. If you want to mess around and get threat intel on them, go for it, do you. That's up to you. So we need to understand what types of sources we need to leverage in order to perform our threat hunts, and also what background we need in order to provide an effective threat hunt. So the first one that we're going to take a look at is some of the sources, and those are going to be logs that you already have that are gathering data, and most of them are already turned on by default in the system. Others might be the news, like any articles that you may find with 0 days and information on 0 days and what to look for in logs from that. Others would be you being astute and having a really good eye on some anomalies that might not be legitimate traffic that you could dive deeper into and you could Google and see if any of that data makes sense in your environment, and also the CM, because the CM is basically going to be the glue that's going to pull everything together. Finally, what's going to end up happening is we need to understand how to spot those threats. So the threats that we're going to focus on in this episode, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be making more on this, are going to be web, email, and authentication requests. And in each segment, I'll take a quick break and I'll pull log sources together, and I'll show you how to use some of the tools and what you need to look for. So when we focus on the web application, what we're really looking at, and give them time to is the access log, and this is going to be Apache centric. We're also going to look at the error log, because this is going to tell us what potentially broke on a page and what time it broke. And finally, if we have ModSec installed, which is the WAF for Apache, then we can find some of the attacks that we've blocked or monitoring in the location that's specified here. So let's take a quick look at what all of this looks like and how we can start sifting through and getting a feel of what an attacker or a threat actor might be doing on our server. Okay, so what I did was I downloaded all the logs from one of my client systems. There should be no information that can identify this one given client, so I'm going to go through and explain what some of these logs are and which ones we'll be taking a look at. So we can see from the screen that we're inside the log folder. I'm going to explain what some of these logs are from the access log down. Access log is the current log that Apache is writing every time someone is accessing the web server itself. This is happening in quote-unquote real time. So if this was on the actual server and we did a tail tac F on this log and we had traffic, we would see Apache writing to this. The .1 is the log that's been rotated right before it goes into what I'd like to call cold storage in GZ format. And there's a different set of tools that we could use to look at the GZ logs. I'm not going to focus on that in this one. I'll focus on that in another video that I'll put together. So what I ended up doing was I was running through setting up the first video when I realized that my wonderful Mac decided to freeze and not record the entire screen. So let me go back to what we did previously. In the log, what we did was we did an egrep on the 404 and the 403. So the reason why we did the 404 and 403, and I'll show you that now, is because it's going to give us a clear indication of what a threat actor or attacker was potentially doing or looking to do on our server. What I was referring to in the previous slides of being astute as to what you're running, if you don't know the web applications that you're running, this here is going to look like benign traffic. Someone came in, they did a GET request, and it returned 404. Some people, they might forget the website or the address they were on previously. No, not really. If we take a closer look, now this server itself is not running WordPress. We see that they're scanning for WordPress. We see that the IP address that's coming is a 172. So what we can do, and I'm going to do the whole up thing, is what we're going to do is find all the 404 and 403s. 404 means that someone is scanning in bulk to find a potential vulnerability or something that's been misconfigured that they can leverage. 403 means that ModSec stepped in either in detect or in active mode and stopped a potential attack that is in its signature database. So if we pull the two of these with egrep, and then we do a regular expression based on the IP address, in this case IPv4, we can pipe this out to attacks.log. So in doing so, we can go back and we can see that we have attacks.log at the top, and we see all the IP addresses that basically hammered the server to find out if we were vulnerable or they can break in. The other thing that we did was we went through and we decided that we were going to get some metrics on the attacks that came in. So in order to do that, we ran this command here. So what this command is doing is we're telling the terminal to cat the attacks.log that we just displayed up here. And we want to sort it by the IP addresses, and we want to get the unique count of each IP address as to how many times they hit the server. So in doing so, we get this output. And we see how many times they've actually hit our web server. So this guy was brazen enough to do this 92 times, or attempt to do this 92 times. So what we could then do is we can take the IP address and we could gain some intel on it. Let's do where is he coming in from? We see that it's Proton, so it's probably a VPN. And as Rancid once said it, this motherfucker's up to no good. There you have it. And it's also coming out of France. So, and if you're looking for the song, it's Rancid, Up to No Good. What we could then do is, because we are in the Apache directory, we have ModSec already enabled in logging. So what we could do is run this command, and I'm not going to run the actual command just to grep on that because it's going to divulge the IP address of the server, and I don't want that getting out there. We'll just pick on this guy because that's what we do. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the fourth column of text out just to show you that in ModSec, they were in fact getting caught in the security log. And there you have it. So in this instance, we could then pipe this to IP tables and see if in the event that they try to come back again, we could pipe this to IP tables so that if in the event they come back again, this IP address will be blocked. So we don't have to worry much on that. We could also take a look and see if this IP address has been seen in any other threat intel platforms. In this case, we're going to use VirusTotal. And you can see from this, it does have a malicious rating. And based on it being Proton, we know that it's a VPN. So again, whoever was using it was doing it for concealment of their actual IP address. Many times what will happen is in the logs, you'll find the attackers will actually walk the IP addresses. So what does that mean? Let's say we'll pick on this one. You'll see that we'll block 185.91.69, 5. Then you'll see 15. And then about 10, 15 minutes later when they've been firewalled, you'll see it go up to another number or lower. And you'll start to kind of see that pattern repeat in the logging. The error logs in Apache normally deal specifically with errors in your programming, more specifically PHP. If you are getting a lot of errors in your error log, I would start looking to determine if in the event something was put on the server or something was modified on the server that's causing problems to potentially weaken the security. And then you could see in some of the logs we've actually, when we were doing some testing on the server, we had to enable and disable ModSec. So you'll see that we've turned it on and off. So if you start to see, suexec and mod security in droves being turned off or suexec being executed, I would start looking into this as to why. There are a lot of high-risk directives that can be enabled in PHP to allow for PHP shells. And I've covered that in a few videos, and I'll link those somewhere in either the description or in here. So you kind of want to go through this too and make sure nothing is going wrong. And every once in a while, you might want to audit going through the site with a tail tag F on the error log to make sure that whatever is going on the server is kind of normal, and it's not stepping out from, being kind of normal to we may have a security problem. So for now, I'm going to finish the video on this section of web application logs. In the next video, we'll take a look at the mail logs, and we'll also take a look at the SSH logs. But from the information that you find here, you could take this information and do a complete threat hunt in your environment if you're using something like Splunk, maybe Sentinel-1, and any other CM applications, so that you could see if any other web applications or servers are being affected by similar traffic. And if they are, then a deeper dive, like what I did in the previous videos on web application security, might come to play, where you're going to be looking for newly created files or web shells and things like that. So if you like the content, like, share, and subscribe. Give me a few days, maybe a week, and I'll come back and I'll create the last 2 videos of the series, and then we'll move on to other topics.